We're going to go ahead and get started here. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. I've got an AC vent right above me that is just wreaking havoc on my notes. My name is Joe Mandrela. I am a Community Impact Advisor with Dell Technologies, and just really excited and glad to be here with you all at TLC this year. Just really, I think particularly excited about this panel and this conversation, piggybacking from the conversation that we just had around, the importance of this work and really from a national scale, kind of what it's going to take to drive progress and impact at that national level. But I wanted to kind of bring the focus a little bit more locally here and kind of what does it really take to drive progress from a capacity building perspective in local communities, and particularly from the Dell perspective, why has our investment in the city of Philadelphia and our partners, why are we so excited to do this work alongside them and hopefully kind of embolden and empower them to do this work even more effectively and efficiently. So I'm going to pass it to each of them to quickly go through a round of introductions. We're here with Temple University's Digital Equity Center, HopeWorks Philadelphia, and Drexel University's Excite Center. So I'll pass it over to Rich here for a quick intro on Drexel.
Thank you. So it's great to be here. Really honored to be a part of the panel and be a part of this discussion on behalf of Drexel. So my name is Rich Dollery, and I'm the program manager for Drexel University's Digital Navigator program. I've been in the position since May, but Drexel has so I'm fairly new to this space, but Drexel University has a long history in digital equity work. So our program is under the University of Community and Partnerships, and the Excite Center has been around supporting civic engagement and technology for the past 10 years. So Drexel really, talking about the Digital Navigator program, was first established in 2020. At the height of the pandemic, when we know that so many of our youth were having to do virtual schooling, and so as one of the leaders in digital equity, Drexel is one of the first digital navigator programs to start off with, and I came on board through the West Philly Promise neighborhood, which is a grant-funded initiative that supports youth and families in West Philadelphia, and through my work with them, we developed an outreach team that conducted a survey across the city to better understand the needs and resources. And that's really how I was able to connect with Andy Stutzman, who brought me on board. And we spent those first months in 2020 really raising awareness about the PHL Connect Ed program. We know there were so many households that didn't have internet or didn't have enough internet access, and so we were able to work to help provide that. So I'll stop with that for now.
Hey everybody, good morning. My name is Dan Roten from HopeWorks. Really great to be here. Fundamentally, what HopeWorks does, we're a nonprofit social enterprise with locations in Camden and now in Kensington and Philadelphia. What we do, young adults who are chronically unemployed come in making less than $400 a year. On average, when they walk out the door 10 months later, they're making over $45,000 a year with a 93.5% 12-month retention rate. This year, thanks in part to Dell and others, and we opened in Kensington, which means we'll be able to do that trick 200 times. We'll place about 200 young adults, is what we're on track to do this year, in jobs paying about $45,000 a year. So if you do the math, that's about, coming up on $10 million of additional wages going back into the communities. That's what we do. How we do it starts with training. We train young adults in front-end web development, geographic information systems, other key technical skills. Of course, I think a lot of folks understand technical skills are the least of the problem, right? It's getting folks socially, emotionally, and professionally ready to really thrive in a workplace environment. We do that. Once they're done training with us, they're work ready, they're technically ready, but they still have no experience. So we employ them first, right? We hire them in our revenue producing businesses. We do web design for companies all over the country. We do GIS and data solutions for Fortune 1000 infrastructure companies. Those businesses not only give young adults experience, but also pays them. In the last 12 months, we were able to pay over $1.2 million in wages and stipends directly to young adults. So that's what we do at HopeWorks. And again, thanks to Dell and others, we were just able to open in Kensington. So now we're in Camden and Kensington. Really excited to be part of the movement we're doing here today.
Thank you. My name is Sean Mitchell. I am the project manager for Temple University's Digital Equity Center. Our Digital Equity Center serves mainly the 8 zip codes surrounding Temple University, but we try to give our service to basically anyone in the Philadelphia area. Our focus is providing digital equity to those 8 zip codes surrounding Temple University through a combination of digital literacy skill training, computer access through what we do is we teach a 2-week digital literacy onboarding class, and then we give out computers to the members of the class that they're able to take home, and it's free for them to use, no strings attached. Our main goal is that when they're receiving these devices, we're mainly focused on internet safety, but we want to make sure they know how to use it, but also now we're giving everyone access. We want to make sure they are safe while they're using it as well. We also have a IT training program where we get community interns from our partners around the city who come to our program. They internship with us for a few months to a year to build skill sets, and we hope to help with our partners build pipelines into entry-level IT careers.
Hi, my name is Alex. Good morning. I work with Sean at the Digital Equity Center. I'm one of those IT trainees he mentioned, or actually now I'm an apprentice, so the thing between Temple and Drexel. Really excited about it. So yeah, I just help Sean with the community members. I help him teach sometimes. Most times I'm answering calls, just helping him out with tech support and whatnot. Yeah, it's just really fun, and I have a good experience, and I'm excited for what's to come from this trainee experience. So.
Good afternoon, good morning. This is Jonathan Lacko. I'm the Executive Director of Information Technology Services. I'm the Business Administrator for the IT Department. For a long time, back in 2003, we started taking technology from Temple and putting it in the community, setting up computer labs. And that was our early vision of digital equity within the community. It was a project I started. We ran with for a long time as the asset manager of the university. As time went on, we developed and built that program, but once the pandemic hit, we knew the reality was people needed these things in their home. So that's where we pivoted. We worked with our partners in the city and other partners within the TLC network, and we were trying to figure out like what niche could we play. And so the result of that is the Digital Equity Center, right? We just ideate and envision, try to find resources to do the work, and then we find really great people like Sean and Alex over here to do that type of work and carry that out. I have multiple visions of what we need to do. As the IT administrator, we have to find a workforce, right? A workforce that may not look like me or is from the community. And it's tough to do that. We require to have a 4-year degree and multiple years of experience, and that you can't always find that. So we're finding creative ways to partner with Drexel through a cybersecurity apprenticeship program, YEP, PYN, to bring in interns and build a skill set in IT that allows them to now look at jobs that they couldn't have access to before. But while they're doing that, they're supporting the digital equity work, which is ultimately putting computers in people's homes in North Philadelphia.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Could I just get a quick survey around the room? Who is a part of a nonprofit organization driving this type of work forward, or potentially a beneficiary of a nonprofit organization doing this type of work? A lot of folks. How about corporate? We have corporate representation. Yeah, I know that table. Government? Handful. Okay, that's great. Awesome. Okay, so we just heard the last panel talking about kind of national scale, right? ACP at the nationwide level. We heard Dell got called out from not giving every individual 1 or 2 devices in home, right? But thinking from kind of more of that macro or micro level, excuse me, what from each of your organization's perspective, right? You all had to start somewhere, right? We had to get this work started somehow, and the underlying thing that I've been hearing a lot is around partnerships, right? So I'm just kind of curious from each of your perspectives, how did y'all kind of embark on this? And I know could be a tricky one for you, but how did y'all kind of really dive into this work at the onset to drive some of this work forward, whether it's pulling people alongside you to kind of, partner with you, or, selling folks on the idea? Kind of, can you talk a little bit about what it took to really kind of take your programs or your organizations from concept mode to funded mode, or from, okay, I don't have to look and scrap for funding everywhere, but we have feet underneath us. So yeah, maybe for all three of you.
We can start with me. So at the pivot, right? We'll call it the pivot at that time frame when everybody was sent home. We looked at the pillars of access, devices, education, tech support, and I looked at my team as they were remote, and I said, what can we do? Where do we fit into that puzzle? We had devices, and we knew how to refurbish those devices. We didn't know how to teach at that time, even though we're a large institution, we're disparate, different people doing different things. I couldn't let them call the help desk, right? It's very specific to Temple. It's a different subset. And then there was all these other resources. And we really didn't know a lot of people from the community. So the early work, when we were setting up computer labs, I wouldn't go out there and find people to set up computer labs. I went to my community relations department, government relations, and things like that, and we connected through people through there. On that pivot piece, we had a LenFest North Philly Workforce Initiative program. They built an OWL hub. It had 200 partners in North Philadelphia doing workforce development. And I said, look, I don't need to know and have that trust of those partners. I went through that foundation, that group that they spent 5 years building, and said, look, I can just offer you a resource. If you're going to teach people GED programs and you have 20 people in that class, if 10 of them don't have a computer in their house, you send them to me, we'll digitally onboard them, get them a computer to take home for free, and then we'll send them back to you to be able to complete that GED program, and we'll keep them plugged into the other resources that we have access to. So we leveraged the trusted resources that exist, and then pretty quickly they started trusting Sean. And how can you not trust Sean? Look at him. But that's it. I mean, so it's like that build, and then they build trust, and keep moving from there. Yeah, we don't need that.
I think what I would add about partnerships is someone said something to me once that I think has really informed how we try to do it at HopeWorks, which they said, if you want to sell a vacuum cleaner, you're not going to sell any vacuum cleaners by telling folks their floors are dirty. You're just going to make them upset, right? If you want to sell a vacuum cleaner, you show them a dirty floor, you do something, and you show them a clean floor, and you let them ask you how it happened. Too often in nonprofits, we spend a lot of time talking about how dirty the floor is and making promises we can't keep about how clean it will be someday when we have funding. So what we find is a much better way at HopeWorks is to, if you don't have funding to do it with 1,000, do it with 100. If you don't have funding to do it with 100, do it with 10. But when you do it with 10, knock it out of the park. Show folks what you did. Let them ask how it happened. And then say, if we had 10 times the funding, we could do this 10 times more. We have seen so many times folks with great ideas, great visions, and certainly the need spend a lot of time talking about the need and a lot of time talking about what they wish they could do. What we have found is if you just do what you can, do it well, you'll get the funding to do what you want to do. But you can't do it backwards. You can't cast a vision with no results and expect to get the funding to make that vision come true. But if you have a vision that drives your results, however small, and show it to people, you're going to build the trust, you're going to build the relationships to then make the larger vision happen. And I think that's kind of the key thing that we've tried to do.
At Drexel, really the start of the Digital Navigator program kind of came from Andy and Andy Sussman, who wish he could be here with us. But, he was kind of a one-man show to begin with. He was able to utilize our co-ops at Drexel, our co-op students, the VISTA program workers that we had, and identified a couple of things. One, that through the West Philly Promise neighborhood, who already had an outreach team in place, which I was a part of, we had a lot of those community connections that could get the word out about the Digital Navigator program. So we started off with support from the city, going out and going literally door to door, to thousands of households promoting PHL Connect Ed and letting them know that these services were out there. And we were able to get over 350 people signed up to that initial program. The other thing we were able to really talk about was the community support line that we have. So we had so many people who didn't have to rely on computers before until that period of time. And so having that hotline available for people to call was a huge benefit. We had over 600 folks that we've been able to support since then. Our community outreach team is really one of our biggest strengths. I think as you were saying, like having people from the community that understand what the issues are, that can speak the language, that can relate and make people feel comfortable is so key. And we were able to bring on several staff, but those positions had been part-time for quite a while. And so with the support of Dell and others, we were able to invest in our biggest strength, which is our team. And so my position was able to be created through that, as well as the expansion of our outreach team. And so we're able to continue that work going forward because of it.
Great. Amazing. So in terms of, kind of going a little bit more tactically then, in terms of kind of, I think one of the things, I was at an event a couple of weeks ago talking, and they were talking about ACP. And one of the hiccups around ACP is this concept around trust, right? Folks don't necessarily trust that the government is willing to subsidize internet connectivity. And so sometimes folks can be skeptical on what that means or what comes with it, what strings are attached, et cetera. How do you kind of, again, from your local perspectives and kind of, I love that each of your organizations are intimately connected with the communities that you serve. How are you diving into those communities to establish and build trust within those communities to kind of accelerate and propel your work forward? Sean. Love that.
So as Jonathan was mentioning, at the beginning, we were just starting our organization, and we didn't have those trusted partnerships. So through the LendFest Association, we were able to leverage some of those trusted partnerships. But eventually, we wanted to build our own trusted partnerships with the community as well. And through support from our organizations and funding from organizations like Dell, we were able to set up a tech support help desk for the community. When we first started out, after we would hand out computers, I was handling all the tech support myself. So, I mean, my role before being the head of the Digital Equity Center was a tech support specialist, but I can only help so many people at one time. Jonathan always says, Sean, you're only one person. So we were able to set up a tech support help desk for the community, a call line where they could call in and get any tech questions answered or help with any technical issues with any of the computers they were receiving from us. So we wanted to be able to provide for the community the full package. They would get a computer from us, they would get digital literacy, they would call us for tech support, and then we could also provide bonus resources to them. So we have probably like a list of about 600 or so community residents that we have served, and they're well connected, they trust us, so when we have new resources like ACP, we're able to call them, we're able to send out emails to them to make sure they're all connected to ACP, to make sure they know about upcoming resources, or for instance, we're having a Cybersecurity Day event in October, or late October, and again, we're sending it out to make sure everyone is able to attend the event or knows about the event and can attend if they want. But for like broader outreach, we're also working with our community organizations that are in the community. So they've been coming to my class actually and joining our program, like different block captains. And now they've been asking me, okay, now what resources do you have for me so that I can share that with everyone else on my block and that we can get more people coming in? Or we're working with, we have a grant right now to help spread outreach about ACP and help people sign up for ACP. And one of the areas we're targeting is the Norris Homes community, which is a community of about, I think it was like 200 homes?
Yeah, close to 300.
300 homes around this public housing around Temple University, right behind our center. So our strategy for providing this outreach is going to the people that they trust. So they have a community center for that public housing, and we've been in talks with them, and we're going to be hosting events at that community center because they already have that trusted relationship, and eventually we'll be going with those individuals at the community center to then do door-to-door outreach to individuals who were not able to make it to our events at the community center. So it's all about finding partners that have these trusted relationships and then working together with them so that you build trusted relationship in your own program. And then after that, the participants will do the rest for you. Because I have a lot of people in my class saying, I'm going to tell all of my friends about this. I'm going to share this information with everyone I know so they can know about the great programs you're offering.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. I would say one thing at HopeWorks we think about is it's not so much about building trust as it is managing risk. What I mean by that is HopeWorks has no secret way to get folks to trust the government. But guess what? Folks don't trust Facebook. They don't trust TikTok. They don't trust Instagram, but they use it. And the reason they use it is the value of the product is worth the perceived risk. Here's the dirty secret, though, is if I just want to survive and do things the way I've always done it, I don't need high-speed internet. I can get to my email on my phone. I can book a rental car on my phone, right? But what needs to happen is if folks see that you can do more than just survive, but you can thrive with high-speed internet, it's worth the risk, right? But you're not going to see that unless you see folks like you thriving because of their connectivity. I mean, HopeWorks, one time I was talking to somebody, I was like, hey, why'd you come into HopeWorks? Why'd you decide to take this risk and change everything? And I thought he was going to say something heartwarming about the culture or the community or our flyer. That's not what he said. He said, well, you got my brother a job, and he's an idiot. And that's how you get folks bought into high-speed internet. Danielle Austin from Launchpad said something last night that made a huge impression on me. She said, look, you can do everything you need to do on your phone, but you know what you can't do on your phone? Learn Python, right? You can't learn JavaScript on your phone. But if you don't understand that Python and JavaScript can 10x your family's income, why bother? But the moment you see someone who looks like you, someone in your neighborhood who just 10x their income by using their connectivity to learn Python, JavaScript, and change their life, I don't know if you're going to trust the government, but you might take that risk to make that kind of difference. And I think that's a key thing that we have to do.
So the ACP is a huge focus of our team. I mean, internet access is one of the first things we focused on, and this particular program now is one of our big priorities. So and I heard the panelists on the people on the previous panel say that awareness is so important, and it really is. It's amazing how many people don't know that this program exists and that they qualify for it. And there's a special provision in Philadelphia where because if you have a child in the school that receives free lunch, you automatically qualify for ACP. A lot of people don't know that. It's not just for folks who receive public assistance or financially based, right? So there's a lot of different ways we do that. One, we've been phone banking through the help of Comcast, over 1,600 families in our footprint who were previously on PHL Connect Ed, which that program just finished at the end of July, to let them know that this program exists and to help them sign up. So it's not just, so that's part of what we're doing to do awareness. The other thing, we do a lot of tabling events. So it's health fairs, education fairs, community days, community events that happen all across West Philadelphia that we're attending and that we're sharing information about. And the other thing we do is at the Dornsife Center itself. For every month, we have a community dinner that we invite community members to come out, have a meal, and we provide lots of different information on all of our different programs, from our legal supports, our health support, but as well as the Digital Navigator program. And I think word of mouth really is key. I mean, the longer you're doing this, the more people trust that you're in it for the right reasons and share that with the folks that they know in their community. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So then in terms of, I'm with Dell Technologies. I wish I had a blank checkbook that I could just, dole out cash left and right and give everybody a laptop that wants one. But that's not a reality, right? And it's not a reality for any of us in the corporate space or in the government space either. So from your perspective, right, when we think about building trust locally, when we think about kind of starting up and getting something off the ground, what role do you see? We all probably have opinions on corporate America broadly, but what role does corporate America play from this local context, right? Kind of zooming in from that macro level, how can corporates show up to drive impact at the local level or within your organizations? How can other folks in the room take lessons from whether it's from a corporate perspective showing up or from nonprofit leaders trying to gather and gain that support from corporates like a Dell or a Comcast or others?
Yeah, so I think there's really two main things. The first and the obvious one, devices, right? If people can't afford, and once they have the internet access, and we have a lot of programs now to get people free or affordable access, they still need to have a computer to use, right? A device that's reliable. And so, at the Excite Center, that was one of our founding things as well, is because we're a university, we were able to refurbish over 500 desktops and laptops and give those out to community members. We got a generous donation from Comcast as well for 150 laptops that we were able to give out to graduates of our digital skills course. We just got another 50 extra laptops yesterday, so thanks again, Comcast. And so devices is really important. But the other part of that is investing in the staff that can really promote the programs and raise awareness. And so, we again, our outreach team, they're from the community, and investing in not just staff, but people from the community makes a big difference in building that trust. Some of the folks that are on our team, they're parents at our zone schools. They're small business owners in the community. They're on our civics association. They're community leaders, and so they have that built-in trust already, as well as a familiarity in terms of how to get the message out and make an impact that way. So I think those are the two main things, and not just devices, but also investing in the staff, because that helps grow the program and make it more sustainable over time. Like I mentioned before, our initial staffing was mainly with students, and they're fantastic, but it's hard to keep that going when there's constant turnover. So having more permanent full-time staff to get the word out is huge.
Yeah, that's great. I think what I would add to it is two things. And the first, I don't think people appreciate enough is that, a lot of folks dog corporate America often. But I think if you look at most people's typical experience, large corporations are some of the first and only folks that consistently keep their word, especially to young adults. Who, if I order something from Amazon, I'm probably going to get it. And that's important. And so when an organization like HopeWorks says, hey, we're going to help you, the truth is there's a million organizations that make the exact same promise that HopeWorks makes. Come do what we ask, and we're going to give you a job, right? And the sad truth is there's a lot of reasons for young adults to not trust organizations that make that kind of promise. So one thing corporations can do, say, by allowing us to say, hey, we're supported by Dell, we're supported by others, it can really help folks trust that this is going to be something that's real, right? This is important. I think the other thing that I think is really important for corporate partners to do and how they support and with devices is to be thoughtful about what you're purchasing, right? And one of the things is, I think when we see the most effective corporate partners, it's the folks that make a conscious decision to purchase impact rather than programming. And I know Dell's done that, other folks in the room have done that. And what I mean by that is, when I go in to buy a slice of pizza, I would never say, I'll pay for the sauce. I would like you to fund the cheese from the next guy, but I'd like the slice of pizza, right? When corporate partners say, I would like the impact, I'm going to support your work to change the lives, right? And choose to purchase impact with their funding rather than a particular program or a particular moment, that can be an incredibly powerful moment for a nonprofit and for a community, because that's where the focus is, right? Make the pizza however you want it, as long as I get to eat it at the end, right? And I think that's a second way that it can be really impactful.
I want to touch a little bit on symbiotic relationships. So all this works because we work together in some capacity, whether you want to or not. And so where you spend your dollars is how you vote in the economy, right? We're a consumer economy. So if Temple's not spending our dollars with Dell, they don't have that ability to turn around and use those resources to go back into the community and fill the gaps where they can't fill in the gaps, right? Verizon, same deal, right? I'm the business administrator for the IT department at Temple University. We're a $1.2 billion organization. We spend a lot of money on Comcast, on Verizon, on Dell, right? So I don't really have a problem kind of going back to those foundations and saying, hey, We're looking to do something a little bit more for the community. People are constantly looking at Temple and saying we don't do enough in the community. We have a huge impact in the community, but do we do enough, right? Can we do it differently? And that's what's important. So the work we're doing is philanthropic in a way. It's supported in some ways and not supported in many ways. So I think for any of the nonprofits or any of the organizations that want to do something a little bit more, look where you spend your dollars, right? That's one way to go look at it. On the other end, I think they're offering things that we need to make our economies work, right? So Comcast isn't successful, and they can't do anything without anyone, without people, and they need people to do that work, right? So if people in that community have jobs at Comcast or work for Dell, remote, local, whatever it is, that's what builds up the economy. That's what gives them the wealth to make these things a little bit normal, like affording internet, buying devices that need to be replaced every 3 or 4 years. Right, so we really need to think about that symbiotic relationship where all this feeds into each other. We can be successful and make the pie bigger if we work together. But if we see each other as adversaries and kind of fighting over the crumbs, it's never going to work, right? That's just it's the truth of the matter. So we need Dell to be successful. We need Comcast to be successful. You know how lucky we are to have Comcast based in our region, right? For as much as we can hate it, and I don't like paying $250 a month. It's like a little mortgage. But I get a lot out of it, right? And I have to understand what that means in times of change. But they have a huge impact. And I think we just have to kind of look at a broader lens and see how we can fit into that puzzle and make that pie a little bit bigger.
No. Oh, there it came. Awesome. Dan, I loved what you said. This is much louder. Loved what you said about funding impact, and I wondered if maybe this is a good chance for Alex to tell his story, because that's part of what, at least personally, I'm so thrilled to be able to be a part of one of these of many stories, right, that kind of through some of the funding that we've provided and funding that Jonathan and Sean and your team have been able to identify, right, but kind of that program agnostic funding that you can kind of do what you want with it and invest where you want. So Alex, I would love if maybe you wanted to tell us a little bit about your story.
Can you hear me? Okay.
You're a little powerful. Much more powerful. You might have to turn it back on.
Oh, okay. So starting out, sorry, let me gather my thoughts. I was raised in a mostly single-parent household, and going into high school, I didn't really know what my future would look like. And in the high school, they didn't really give us much of a pathway. They were just kind of like, college or military? Which one do you want to go? And I didn't want to go to the military, and I couldn't afford college. So from that point on, I just kind of worked retail here and there, and I always knew I was really, really interested in technology and working with it. I grew up on computers pretty much all the time. I grew up just tinkering with them, learning about them, and I was super interested, but I couldn't afford to get the education I needed to actually enter that field. So I didn't really know what to do. And the pandemic hit, and that one was really hard because then I didn't have a job. But it was kind of a blessing and a curse, because it was during the pandemic that we had a lot of career outreach. There was a lot of government programs, and it was actually through I forgot. Yeah, it was through YEP. Yes, the youth employment program here at Temple, that I was able to find an opportunity to learn what I needed to learn to get into the tech field. So through YEP, I was able to earn my Google IT support specialist certification. And it was through there that I was able to work at the Digital Equity Center. I was hired as an ITS trainee. That was in 2022, I believe. And I had a lot of great experience. And in the middle of that training, I was actually referred from another intern who's unfortunately not with us anymore. But he told me about a program that was being held at Drexel for a cybersecurity apprenticeship. So I jumped on the opportunity, and I was able to get into that program, which I'm super, super happy about. And now I'm an IT apprentice, and I'm learning, or Drexel is providing me all the resources I need to learn the things I need to learn for the CompTIA Plus, Net Plus, and Security Plus, which will have me set for cybersecurity. And yeah, I'm just like really, really happy about it because, you know, as I mentioned before, coming out of high school, I didn't have really a pathway. I didn't know what my future looked like. I just kind of thought I was going to work retail. But thanks to Temple, thanks to Drexel, I was able to find, I was able to plan out my future essentially. I have goals now that I feel like are realistic that I can, you know, meet, and hopefully through the apprenticeship program, you know, I'll have a successful pathway into, you know, having I guess a pretty successful life. So yeah, I wanted to thank Drexel and Temple, especially, and the funders of the Digital Equity Center, because without any of them, I wouldn't have been able to get out of that. Not to sound gloomy, but I did feel hopeless after high school. So I'm very, very, very thankful and happy for everyone involved. And I honestly, I have no words. Not much, there's a lot that I wish I could do to repay it. So I'm just very, very, very grateful for all of you guys.
Amazing. Well, I mean, that's just, you know, part of why I love doing this work is seeing and you know, hearing stories like that. So we're thrilled to have you up on the stage, Alex. I think the last thing I have here before we open it up, if there are questions in the audience, are just around consequences, right? From this micro level and from this concept around partnership and, right, we're not enemies or we're not adversaries, right, Jonathan? But we're all in this work together. So what are the consequences if we don't partner together to do this type of work moving forward, right? Whether it's in Philadelphia, or I think we heard a little bit about potential consequences, and I'm sure we'll hear more as we go on. But here locally in Philadelphia, or within the communities you specifically are serving, what are the consequences if we don't partner together to propel this work forward?
Well, that's a really good question, and I think that the consequences are dire. You know, you look at just how much progress we've made in the last couple of years since the pandemic. It's unfortunate that it took something like that to put so much attention and focus on digital equity, but it's made a difference, right? You know, we know we've increased the number of households with internet in those couple of years from 70% to over 90% now, which is fantastic. We've been able to increase the number of folks that have the devices that they need, and also some of the digital skills that they've developed. But that's not all guaranteed to continue. And I think the funding, we talked about the ACP funding on the earlier panel, is important, but also the funding from our corporate partners to help support the programs that are in place so that we can continue to expand and raise awareness and promote the services and programs that are out there that, again, people don't all know about. And that's why it's so important to continue the support and funding to raise that awareness.
I would just add that, like, it's not academic. It's already happened. In 2012, there was a city that was the most dangerous in America, highest poverty in America, full of intractable problems, things that folks said would take generations to solve. I'm not talking about Philly. I'm talking about Camden. In 2012, Camden, leaders from all over Camden, came together and made some hard choices about policing, about economic development. Don't know if every choice was right, but I can tell you right now, how many folks thought I was talking about Camden when I listed all those things, right? Or did that sound like how we're talking about Philly today, right? Camden is seeing the lowest crime rate it's had in 15 years today, right now. Philly is not. So we can make the choice to do it, or we can stay on the course we're on, right? The fact is, these problems that we decry as intractable, these problems that we say will take generations to fix, other places are fixing them in years, sometimes in months. So if Philly, we want to become known for the place that says we should someday fix it and doesn't, we can keep going as we are. If we want to be like the Camden, like the Detroits, like the cities that 10, 20 years ago, folks wrote off, just like folks are talking about Philly, and now are held up as beacons of how things could be, Philly could be that, and we're bigger than all of them. So if we make that change in Philly, we could show the world how it's done. Or we could watch other people do it for us, and that's the potential.
Hello? One of the consequences I think would happen if we don't all work together is this work takes a lot of effort. There are many people who need digital equity, who need access, who need an affordable device, who need help signing up for the internet, and they come from all different walks of life. You have seniors to young adults, different economic states, and no one organization is going to be able to reach out to everyone. It's only by working together and making partnerships with the different partners in our communities that we might be able to serve all of these different community members from where they're at. Not where we want them to be, but we have to go to them where they're at. And again, each organization specializes in its own mission. So by partnering with different organizations, we're able to make sure that we're reaching out to, the goal is everybody, but as many people as we can with this information, with these resources, so that we can all get on the same playing field when it comes to digital equity.
Dan's story's kind of touching. I lived in Camden for 15 plus years. I just moved out with my family, but I was there since 2008, and the stuff that HopeWorks was doing was ahead of its time, and they really looked at it from a different lens. Father Pudoff and everything that was happening there. Look, one of the early stories I have with Sean's running the Digital Equity Center out of the old Norris Homes Community Center, which sits just behind Temple's campus. The first computer lab I built for the community in 2003 was in that exact community center. And what struck me the most were when I was there talking to the families, and I just met them, I'd been at Temple since 1999, there were 4 generations of the same family living in public housing that had been there for 40 years. And I just couldn't understand it, like, from my perspective. And look, my dad grew up in public housing in Camden, and I lived there for a big part of my life. And I lived it, I was a part of it, I know the impact and the effects of it. But I couldn't understand it, and it's like the vision really wasn't beyond what was there, right? That was life, that was reality for them. And there's a lot more to life for everyone in this sense. And so it became a choice neighborhood. They ripped down a lot of the types of housing they had. And we see this kind of play out over and over again, right? We see it in recidivism, people that we send to jail, right? We locked a lot of people up for a long time. But what did we do with people when they were there, right? They sat in a cell for X amount of years, and did we really prepare them to come back into society, right? We're working with one group, people were locked up for 20, 25 years. What was technology like 25 years ago? That's where they're stuck. And they have no idea what a cell phone is. Pagers were barely here in that aspect in that time, right? That was a big deal. So, we have to rethink kind of how we handle these situations that are cyclical. And a computer and access are just parts of it, but this is access to healthcare. This is access to education. This is access to jobs, right? A big portion of the IT jobs at Temple University are fully remote, and some people don't even live here, right? And we have to find those talents all over the country now. This is society. This is that symbiotic relationship that we're talking about, and it's all tied together. And we can't sleep well at night unless we know this is happening. And the results are what you see in Philly. I was on a panel one time in schools, and I was sitting next to the Philly DA, and he asked a question to all these youth, and he says, I locked a lot of people up in my day, and he said, do you know what they all had in common? And it's like, oh, they had a gun, or they did this, or they did that. And he's like, 90% of them didn't have a high school diploma. right? And that was like his little speech to kind of finish high school and think about, and, you know, what your next steps would be in life. And I think that goes for all of us. There's just, you know, we have to open that door up, and it's such an entrepreneurial environment. Once you're in there and you kind of find your niche or your direction, people will figure it out on their own, but we have to get them over that first hurdle.
Okay, I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. I'm looking at Kate in the back. She's not looking at me back. That's okay. 1 or 2 questions. Got the thumbs up. Yeah, I'm not sure. We don't have a microphone, so can you? Oh, you don't need one.
I don't know specifically of situations like that that are related to Lifeline, but we have had some hiccups where people have applied for ACP a year ago, and then they have to renew after that year, and then they can't find the old email where they signed up for, and then, you know, like they're getting charged now, and then they can't get the code to give it to Comcast. So we definitely have had some of those kind of issues. And one of the things we do is, you know, we have folks come into our office, you know, like face-to-face, in person, and sometimes we'll call the national line, the ACP national hotline, and that's been helpful for us to help them look up the person's information and kind of figure out the problem that way. But yeah, there's definitely some hiccups, you know, and it speaks to why the digital navigator work is so important, in that you can't always do things remote, particularly if you're working with someone who doesn't have a lot of digital skills to begin with. So, you know, one of the things you need to do to sign up for ACP is to show some identification and eligibility, right? So your documentation might be your EBT card, but if you don't know how to take a picture of your EBT card and upload it to your application, you're kind of stuck, you know? And it's hard to explain that to someone over the phone. Sometimes you can, but it's much easier to have someone just come into the office. And so, like, it's providing that service, one, but then that also ties directly back into digital skills overall, because ultimately we want people to be able to do these things on their own, and you've got to give them pathways and support to get there, and that's really what we try to do. You know.
Maybe one more question, if it's out there. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but like Philadelphia might not get a lot of money from the BEAD funding, right? Because our network is built out. People might not have access to it, but it's built out, right? But to Comcast's credit, right, they're up to what, 50 meg? And they even have 100 meg services for Internet Essentials, right? So they sort of led the charge to double that speed from 25 to 50 to help those things. And a lot of it's affected by how many people live in that household, how many people are connecting to that internet.
Yeah.
We do know with some of the cellular MiFi devices, it's a little bit more difficult. And you really need a one-to-one device when it's 4G, not one for the household. And I think that was some of it a challenge when it came to the district. They were giving out those MiFi devices, and that student was bringing it home, and everybody was on it, right? Why would they not want to be on it? But, you know, I think the speeds here, it's getting access to that speed.
Yeah. The speed has definitely gotten better. Like I remember when PHL Connect Ed first started, it was 50 megabytes per second, and you had a mom or dad and maybe a couple of kids at home all on the computer or on Zoom, and it just wasn't enough. So, the benefit was it actually did increase to 100 megabytes per second, and that helped make it more manageable. But even that for some households wasn't enough. And I know like through the cities program, we were able to get hotspots and try to create some of those one-to-one options. So if you had particularly this is for kids in school. If they didn't have enough speed, we were able to distribute hotspots for each child in the household. So that helped as well.
If you have an issue about speed or a particular question, come talk to us.
He's from Comcast.
Yeah. And I think the city, there was a study, I think, January? You were doing speed tests across the city. I don't know what the results were.
Yeah, we have some of that data. I feel like there's more data to be collected. Certainly there's MLab data from the state that you can utilize their tool to collect speed tests in your neighborhood, which I think is really valuable. I would also note as this grew around support, and I'm curious how this issue of tech support I think is really challenging. One thing to help folks find comfort internet, but then there's the tech support of what's not working, and sometimes it's about they're running 10 applications and they got a virus and they need to somebody they don't know how to I don't know how to do this reformat my computer. What do I do? And I don't know how to reformat my computer. Well, so I talked to my husband. It's like a horrible thing to admit as a woman. So who in that family is able to do that, and how do we support, or how are you guys supporting that when things break? I'm really interested in the break fix problem because that I think is more of a challenge, especially when things are out of warranty. How do we sustain the lifespan of devices and support for folks?
So at the Digital Equity Center, I mentioned that one of our goals is to provide that entire package. So when we give out machines and we tell this to our class, it's with the expectation that we're here to support you in case anything happens with that machine. If you need tech support, we have a tech support line, but if something actually breaks or you don't know what to do and we can help you over the phone, then we say bring it in. You can feel free to come back to us at any time, and then we will help fix it on the spot, or we'll just replace it for you. So our goal with this full package is to provide them a 2-year warranty for that machine through our Digital Equity Center, because a lot of these, we work a lot with refurbished equipment, and as you said, a lot of the refurbished equipment, their actual warranty is over. So we provide kind of like a pseudo warranty just through the equipment that we have that we're refurbishing that says, if you have a problem with it in those 2 years, bring it back to us and then we can swap it out for you, so you can, you won't have any problems. You can just constantly be doing the work you need to be doing to help advance yourself without having to worry about the tech issues that go with it. So that's our current solution.
Yeah, I'd plus one that at the Excite Center, we do something very similar. We have several students that have expertise in tech support, and we offer different open office hours for, we try to help folks over the phone, but if it's not possible, sometimes they'll have to come in, and we'll do the kind of diagnostic that you're talking about and try to fix it. There's only but so much we can do. If it's fixable, we fix it. If it's not, we rather replace it. Sometimes we might refer them to some other nonprofits. But the other point with that, though, that I want to make sure we mention is giving out computers is good and important, but giving out ones that are not likely to break and not likely to be outdated and obsolete right away is also important. We try to have an adequate standard for the devices that we give out. Like the analogy I've heard is like you're giving someone a computer that's not optimized is like giving someone a pair of shoes that has holes in it. Are you really doing them a favor with that? Not really, so you try to having a standard of what the devices are is also part of minimizing the situations where things break or need repair.
I would also just quickly add, one of the other things we do in our class is we do teach our students how to use Zoom, and one of the main reasons is one, so they can attend any online classes that they want to attend for their own education, but also because it's much easier to provide tech support over Zoom. At least with, as I mentioned, I'm a tech support specialist for Temple University, so with our Zoom license, we're able to do remote support through Zoom. So we can use Zoom as a tool to meet with them, remote into their computers, and help do that tech support that way as well.
Awesome. Well, we are 7 minutes over time, so we're going to wrap it up. But I just want to say thank you so much to this panel. Amazing group. We're just thrilled to partner with you all and just really look forward to all of the great work that you're going to continue doing in Philadelphia. And thanks to everyone for being here in the room with us. Look forward to connecting with you all over the course of the day. So thanks very much. And I'm not sure exactly. Oh, I got my agenda right here. I think we're going on break. I'm also not the MC, so don't listen to me.
Yeah, please stick around. The other breakout sessions are also wrapping up, and then we're going to have a presentation from Comcast before we have lunch. So you have a few minutes, but stay nearby. And thank you so much, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back from your breakout sessions. I'm neither Loraine nor Matt. Your professional MCs are gone for the day, and the rest of the afternoon is now in the hands of me, an amateur MC. I trust that you all enjoyed your breakout sessions. Yes? No? If I could ask everyone gathered in the back to please come over and grab their seats. So while those of you in the back are working your way to your seats, I wanted to direct your attention to my left, your right. There's a step and repeat banner with the wonderful TLC logo. We invite you to go and take some photos, take some selfies, hand the phone to someone else, and put a group together. And if you look on the back side of your agenda card, you'll see the various hash marks that we're using for this event, and we'd invite you to post your photos, your thoughts about the event and the sessions on the social media platform of your choice. Perhaps someone in the, Lance, maybe you could ask those good folks in the hallway to come back in, or Jonathan. We'll appoint Jonathan as Sergeant at Arms. Well, thank you for those of you who listened to me and took your seats from the back of the room. I appreciate that. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Smith, and I'll be taking over the MC duties from here. Matt set the bar pretty high this morning, but he covers news, and he had to go back to work. My name is Bob Smith, and I serve on the board of directors of TLC Philly. I know a lot of you and the organizations that you work for because for a long time I was the vice president of community impact for Comcast, and I worked with you all, but I retired earlier this year, and if you're thinking about what are you going to do in your retirement, this is sort of it. I still go to meetings and conferences, and the air conditioner vent is not cooperating with me. So I think it's been a terrific conference so far. A lot of energy in the opening panel, great breakouts. Any agreement or disagreement there? We know you all had options on how to spend your day, and we're so grateful that you decided to spend your day with us. So we have a terrific presentation coming up right now, followed by lunch, and then an afternoon with additional breakout sessions and a terrific closing session. I'm really excited to introduce our next speaker, Christina Wiskowski, Senior Director of Digital Equity at Comcast, one of my all-time favorite coworkers, and no bigger advocate and champion for the practice of digital navigation than Christina. So she's going to talk about digital navigation. I know that we have digital navigators and digital navigator organizations here in the room. So I am confident that this will be worthwhile. And without further ado, my friend Christina Wiskowski.
Thank you, Bob. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's a treat to be here in my alma mater. I'm a proud Temple Owl. But really, it's a treat to be here in the room with so many advocates for digital equity in the Philadelphia community. So I'm grateful to be here, and I realize that I'm standing in the way of lunch, so I will try not to drag on too long. Okay, so this is just this is our definition of digital equity at Comcast, and I think somebody in the panel this morning mentioned that digital inclusion is really a means to an end, and I think you kind of see that in what's highlighted in our definition, right? Empowering all communities with the opportunities to excel. That's what we're here to do, right? We're here to empower people and make sure they can excel. And digital navigators, as it turns out, are really a very key way to do that. Why it matters, we all know it. That's why we're in the room. This is a civil rights issue, and it's a pretty big one. We know home internet adoption changes lives. These statistics come from our Internet Essentials program, but I presume the other ISP programs would see very similar numbers. People get more, get better jobs, right? People make more money, students do better, everybody in the household does better when people are connected, right? So if we know, it's widely known that it changes lives, why is it still a problem, right? We have the Affordable Connectivity Program that's taken cost off the table for most folks, so why does it continue to be a problem? So back in 2021, we had the opportunity to study it in sort of a unique way. This was before even EBB, but most of you, I think, are familiar with the PHL Connected program. So we participated in similar programs across the country, and this gave us access to families for whom cost was taken entirely off the table. We could really dig into those barriers. And what you see here were the barriers to the folks who decided not to adopt, even though it was free. Right, so it's about awareness, and I know we talked about that a bit in the panel this morning. It's about information gaps, about eligibility, how to apply, how to install. Trust is a huge one, and I think probably most folks in the room really know that and feel that. And then, of course, structural limitations, and those are hard, right? Unique housing situations or transient nature, things like that. So after we completed that study, we worked with BCG to do another study, right? So we said, all right, we know what these barriers are. What are the ways to combat them, right? How are we getting folks connected? And overwhelmingly, it was a human approach. The answer was digital navigators. So digital navigators, as again, many of you know, many of you in the room are or work on digital navigator programs, individuals who are affiliated with trusted community organizations who are trained to help people access the internet, use devices, build digital skills. Okay, that's sort of an easy definition, but I kind of want to just dig into that a little bit more. So again, volunteers, staff at social service agencies, libraries, schools, other community organizations. The programs work because the staff members are trained to facilitate this education and this adoption. And it's all about that one-on-one contact, that continual education and building that trust. And we know they're successful, right? So again, from our BCG study that we did last year, we surveyed a number of folks who worked with digital navigators. 66% of them got a connection as a result. 86% were using technology more, and 80% felt more confident or safer using technology. Those are really, really big numbers, right? That's exciting. So we kind of have the answer there. And then I just want to dig into that 86% just a little bit more. 44% of them got better health care. Nearly half got help with food, rent, and important basic needs like that. And 37% got a new or a higher paying job. That's life-changing. That's like really exciting stuff. So what does it mean to be a digital navigator? Digital navigators in action. There are a lot of different organizations in the room here. You all do different types of work. Your digital navigation programs are not going to be the same. You're not going to interact with folks the same way, and that's fine. That's great, actually, right? So from the Boston Consulting Group study, we identified 4 major archetypes, right? So you've got and some of these organizations may be represented here in the room. So you've got your intervention specialists like libraries and schools, and their superpower as it relates to being a digital navigator is quick answers, basic support, and triaging, right? Getting people to the right organizations, referring them out. Then, of course, you've got the digital inclusion specialists. So the organizations that are really primarily focused on it, and they're going to be the sort of the experts and the go-to for that work. And then your social change agents, right? So folks that work with seniors, with immigrant populations, with other specific communities that are focusing on their needs. The digital navigation can really support their work in important ways. And then of course your functional skill builders working on workforce development, education, things like that. So you all have superpowers and you all have a really important role to play, even though it doesn't all look exactly the same. That's okay. And of course, different formats can help to overcome the different barriers. So you've got to understand what is the barrier. So right, when you've got a person in front of you, understanding what's the reason they're not connected, or what's the reason they're not engaging online, or advancing their skills online. That's how you help get to the answers and help overcome those barriers. And what you'll see in the formats is, while there are differences, that one-on-one is always there. That one-on-one is so important, right? That's how you build the trust, and that's how you really help somebody meet them where they are and move them forward in a meaningful way. So the basic digital navigator process is sort of a loop, right? So starting out by assessing somebody's needs and goals, right? Understanding where are they, where do they want to go, evaluating and discussing those needs and goals, looking at the relevant resources, right? Do they need the digital skills training? Do they have the appropriate device, or do we need to help them get it? Do they have affordable broadband, or are they connected at home or not? Do they qualify for programs like ACP, Internet Essentials? If not, if so, let's make sure they get connected. Evaluating and then sort of starting over, right? Okay, we met a goal. Now what's next? Like, if this is ongoing. So this is just a simple example of what a one-on-one digital navigation session could look like. This one relates to education, somebody taking GED classes. And again, it's all about meeting them really where they are, right? So you can't assume they know how to turn the computer on, log into a platform. So it's building in that time to really start at the beginning and walk them through each of those important steps, including time for practice, right? Time to practice the steps on their own. And then that last one is so key, right? The follow-up plan. So that repeated interaction, doing it again, coming back the next week and checking in. How is it going? This is just another example of what a class could look like when you've got students maybe with different goals or different needs. This example is 3 hours, but it's sort of the same thing, right? Starting with that basic, turning the computer on, troubleshooting, getting logged into email, things like that. But it includes then time for self-paced learning, right? Depending on what the students are really focused on in the class. But then again, that follow-up and that extra support, that one-on-one, always coming back to that. So those are sort of the theoretical, right? These are just a couple of examples of what that digital navigation could look like. But I would love to invite Kieran from Beyond Literacy. All right. So one of our phenomenal, wonderful partners, Beyond Literacy, they have a great, successful digital navigation program, and Kieran Farrell is one of their digital navigators. So I'd love to invite her to talk a little bit about how they actually do that in practice. So, come on.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Again, I'm Kieran Farrell. I'm the Director of Student Support Services at Beyond Literacy. We're an adult ed program here in Philly, the largest one, actually. And digital access and digital support has always been embedded in our curriculum. Obviously, learners are not going to be able to get their GED, not be able to get a job if they cannot access the internet and have functioning devices to do that. So we really obviously leaned into that and got a lot more support around that work during the pandemic and then post-pandemic when we developed our digital navigation program. So those numbers were really impressive. I don't know that I've ever seen them, sort of the impact of the digital navigation work. I think we see that every day on the ground when we're meeting with our learners and folks from around the city who need digital access support. I think sometimes the easiest way to sort of contextualize all this is to give an example. So for example, just a few days ago, I met with a learner who is visually impaired. So she obviously is having some difficulty engaging in online classes. She has no phone. She uses her social worker's phone to connect with us, has no laptop, has no internet. There's so many issues going on in this lady's life. So we started with getting her a laptop and connecting her with just even the resources to be able to come to classes and be able to get on public transportation to do that until we were able to get her that laptop. Then we sat down with her for upwards of 2 hours just to teach her the basics of using it and all of embedding like some assistive technology into that laptop so she can actually see the screen. So you can see from that situation, we're just kind of peeling away all the layers of the levels of challenges that she has. So that piece of the one-on-one connection, that piece of the follow-up, all of those are really, really integral for people to really be able to move a little bit closer to, being able to fully access the digital world. So, so those are the kinds of things that we see on a regular basis. Folks have all kinds of different challenges to fully be able to engage, and it's really your job just to, really get in there and try to support that, and then follow up with them to make sure they didn't just, get a referral for a resource, but they were able to actually access the resource and be able to, have some change happen there. So, do you have any other questions or?
Let me grab one slide and then.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah, it's such a great example, right? The work Beyond Literacy does is so important, and it really highlights some of the points I was talking about, the one-on-one, the trust. And I know a lot. Again, I know I'm talking to a room full of people that know this and are engaging in it in your own ways in your own organizations. But it's just, we can't say it enough, right? So the key takeaways here. Again, can't say it enough. The trust and the relationship building, the one-on-one, meeting people where they are, holding their hand and moving them forward. Again, really prioritizing that one-on-one, especially for the beginners. Leveraging local networks, right? So conferences like this or rooms like this are just a gold mine of information, relationships, and ways that we can move forward together, right? So so I hope that you'll take advantage of the networking opportunities here, because Kieran's talking about referrals. Well, it's very likely that organizations in this room are the very organizations she may be referring her clients to. So it's so important that we really leverage those community organizations that we have access to and build those networks. And feedback, right? Feedback wherever possible within your organization to partner organizations, to ISPs, to organizations like NDIA are a great place to be sharing feedback, big picture feedback for how we can all do this better. So with that, again, I know I'm standing in the way of lunch, but I would love to know if anybody has any questions. And probably, I'll be honest, what I'm going to do is turn it back around and say who in the room has the answer, because I'm not on the ground doing this work, right? My team has engaged in in research, and we're working with partner organizations, but you all really are the experts. So does anybody have any questions or anything you want to share about some best practices or surprising tips or best practices you may have learned as you're doing this work? Don't be shy. Just want to eat lunch? Okay, I get it. All right, well, enjoy your lunch. Again, and I really hope you'll make the best opportunity you can out of the networking opportunities here, because it's just so valuable, so valuable. So thank you. Bob, I will go back to you.
One more chance before they leave the stage. There's got to be a particular Navigator question. We're not sponsored the cocktail hour. Toby.
Okay, the question relates to the hardware. Why you would use a laptop, which is kind of more challenging than a tablet, and now that people have smartphones but don't even know they are smart.
So I mean, I think that really depends on the goal, right? The end goal. I mean, so who in here does workforce development? Okay. Are you training folks on software development or coding and like skills like that? And certainly things like that can't be done on a tablet. Or you said if it's not a student, right? But there are plenty of adult students, and there are plenty of workforce programs where you may need a special software, and you can't put that on a tablet. So I think that's a big part of that one-on-one and understanding somebody's needs and goals. If their goals can be met on a tablet, fantastic. The laptop offers so much more opportunity. You can do so much more with it. So if we can get folks to be comfortable with that laptop, they're going to benefit. They're going to be able to benefit more from it. Does somebody in the room want to speak to the question?
So it makes sense, and they're more comfortable working on the laptop, just honestly just navigating it, but also Classroom Dojo, you know, for a 72-year-old and having to navigate back and forth is just easy, but I think it's a personal preference. You know, some grandparents, they like the tablet. Some don't want to have it. I have one of my grandparents here. She have a tablet. She wants a laptop. She just can't tell. So, yes, I think it's a personal preference, and it depends on what skill you are trying to teach. Because Classroom Dojo sometimes don't work so good on a laptop for a 72-year-old.
See that? And you all didn't want to ask questions to start.
Yeah, there's some educational platforms and for formal assessments and things like that can't be done on a tablet. They really need a laptop. So yeah, it depends on the need.
I will say that Toby and Generations Online have done more to bring older adults into the digital world than probably any other organization. So, you know, I think Christina and Kieran both made the point that whatever device we can use to help folks get started, and then make sure that they have opportunities to expand the horizons. So keep up the good work. Can we give Christina and Kieran a round of applause? And thank you to all of you who are currently doing digital navigation work and who are contemplating doing digital navigation work. I know that our friends from the United Way, along with Comcast and many other partners, are working to ramp up that work to expand on the successes of the past few years and to do even more. So it is time for a lunch break, a well-deserved lunch break after a really informative morning. So please grab a boxed lunch, enjoy some networking time. Remember to go over and grab a photo in front of the Step and Repeat and use the hashtags on the back of your agenda, and let everyone who was silly enough not to join us know what they're missing. And then we're going to reconvene at 1 o'clock for breakout sessions. Okay? Thank you.